guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Let's Crack Real Math. My name is Viraaj, and in this video we'll be having a look at how we can solve questions involving ratio. So before I begin the video, please do perform an LSS, that is like, share and subscribe, and without wasting much time, let us begin. So before I go into examples, let's have a quick look at what exactly is a ratio. In layman terms, a ratio is simply a quantity expressed in comparison or in terms with another quantity. So let's say the quantity I'm dealing with is, let's say, cars and bikes, right? So a ratio, for example, would be 1 to 3. What this simply means is that for every one car, there are 3 bikes. Similarly, if I also write something like 7 to 9, this simply means that for every 7 cars, there are 9 bikes. Again, these are just examples. And of course, ratio can not only be limited to 2 things, it can be limited to 3. Suppose I add trucks, and I could say maybe 5 here. So this would be for every 1 car, there are 3 bikes. And for every 1 car there are 5 trucks. So I could also say for every 3 bikes there are 5 trucks. I could also say for every 5 trucks there are 3 bikes and 1 car. So these are different ways of simply presenting your answer. So let's go ahead and dive into examples and see what exactly do we mean by ratios. Right, so the first example says, write the following ratios in the simplest form. Okay, so part I is 20 to 30 and part II is 48 to 42. So let's take part I, that's 20 to 30. So one way you can treat ratios is almost like fractions. Now, they're not exactly fractions, but you can treat them in terms of simplification. One trick you can do in simplifying your ratios is that you can use your calculator and put these values in as a fraction. So I could write 20 divided by 30 in my calculator as a fraction, and that would give me 2 over 3, and I can simply rewrite this as ratio form to 2 to 3. This is a trick that many students do use in order to save time during exams, and some exam boards do allow it. I mean, all they care about is the final answer, is it correct? But if your exam board does not only care about the final answer but also your working, then the other way to do this question is by looking at factors and simplifying it. One way you can do this is you can, if both the numbers are even, divide it by 2 to start with. So divide 20 by 2, that gives you 10, and then divide 30 by 2, that gives you 15. Now we can look at factors that are present in both 10 and 15. In this case, the highest common factor, and the highest common factor in both, I think, is 5, because 5 times 2 is 10 and 5 times 3 is 15. So divide each of them by 5 and you would now have 2 to 3, and this can't be divided furthermore because this is the final answer. Another way you could have done this is you could have directly gone to the highest common factor from the first step. So the highest common factor in this already, as you can see, is most likely 10, because 10 times 2 gives you 20, and 10 times 3 gives you 30. So 20 divided by 10 and 30 divided by 10, and this would have also given you 2 to 3. So you can see there are 3 main different ways you could have gone to solve this question. So let's take a look at part II. We have 48 to 42. 48 to 42. Again, one way you can do this is simply directly put in a calculator. 48 divided by 42, that is 8 over 7. And if the exam board only cares about the final answer, then you can write it as your ratio 8 to 7. You don't need to write your fraction, I'm just writing it here so you know what I mean, but in exams you can simply jump to the answer, which is 8 to 7 in this case. 48, 42 can also be done by dividing both of them by 2 until you get the most simplified version. So divide both sides by 2, 48 divided by 2 gives you 24, 42 divided by 2 I think is 21. Yep, it is 21. Now you look ahead at more highest common factors, and I think the highest common factor between these two is 3. So 24 divided by 3 and 21 divided by 3, this would give you 8, and this would give you 7. You can do it that way, and you can directly go for the highest common factor from the outset of this, which I think is 6, because 6 times 8 gives you 48 and 6 times 7 gives you 42. So divide both by 6, you would get 8 over here and you would get 7 over here, and that is your answer for the first question. As you can see, 3 different methods. The first method, the one with calculator, can be subjective depending on your examination board. If they want to show you're working in the question, then you probably might not want to do the first method, but the other 2 methods are completely fine and always acceptable. However, the first method does save a bunch of time. On to the next example. This one says there are 24 men, 60 women, and 44 children. Okay, good to know. Write this in the simplest ratio form of men to women to children. Now, in these kind of questions, the order is very significant. You need to make sure you don't mix up the order. Men is first, then women is next, and then children is next. And we have the 3 information. So let's write it down like that. So we have men first, 24. Then we have women, that's 60. And then we have children, that is, I believe, 44. Now they said to write this in the simplest ratio form, so that means this is obviously not the simplest form. Now we cannot use the fraction method here because we have 3 different numbers to deal with, but we can use the other 2 methods. So let's use the first of the 2. Let's divide everything by 2 until it's no more simplified. So 24 divided by 2, that gives 12. 60 divided by 2 gives you 30. 44 divided by 2, if I'm not wrong, gives 22. Now again, I'll repeat it. In order for you to divide everything by 2, you need to make sure that all your numbers are even, because 2 can only divide even numbers. And we can divide this by 2 again, all of it by 2. So doing that again, we would now have 6 to 15 to 11. And I think that is the final answer, because it's no more divisible, because 11 is a prime number and you can't divide prime number by itself. You can only divide it by itself and by 1. So this is your final answer for this question. So that is the answer for that. Now we could have done this the other way as well. As I said, we could have taken the highest common factor from the outset. So right away we could have looked at the highest common factor between all 3, and I think this would have been 4. So divide this by 4, divide this by 4, and divide this by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 60 divided by 4 is 15, I think. Yep, it is. And 44 divided by 4 is 11. So you could have done that as well. Any method is fine, but do remember that whenever you want to divide it by 2, like everything by 2, it has to be all even numbers. On to the next example. Right, this one says the 3 angles of a triangle are in the ratio 3 to 5 to 7. Okay, good to know. Find the largest angle in the triangle. Okay, so it says the 3 angles of a triangle and the ratio 3 to 5 to 7. Find the largest angle in the triangle. Now, from knowledge, we know that all the angles in a triangle, so this, and this, all of them, if you add them all together, should give you 180 degrees. We know that. And whenever you have these type of questions where you're given a ratio and you know that all of them add up to a particular value, the best thing to do is to add up all the ratios first. So we have 3 plus 5 plus 7, and 3 plus 5 plus 7, if I'm not wrong, is 15. I'll repeat it again. Whenever you have the sort of questions where you have a ratio, 2 or 3 numbers, however the ratio is, and you know that all of them add up to a particular value, in this case 180 degrees, then it's best to add them all up, all the ratio numbers up. That's 3 plus 5 plus 7 in this case. Also in this question we had to find it out, that's 180 degrees by common sense, because we know that in a triangle all angles are 180 degrees. But another example could be that they give you the amount of money shared between 3 people, let's say in the ratio 4 to 6 to 10, and then later they would tell you that the total amount of money shared was, let's say, 900 pounds, and then they would also ask you that find how much money this person gets, the person that got in the ratio of 4. Then what you would do is add up all this, that's 4 plus 6 plus 10, that's 20, divide 900 by 20, and then times it by 4. So that's basically what we're trying to do over here. But in this case, let me just stick to the question we have. It's angles, and we know that it all adds up to 180. So 15, and we know that all this is 15. So 180 divided by 15. This is the first step you should do. So whatever you have, whatever everything is equal to, divided by the sum of all the ratio, 3 plus 5 plus 7, that's 15. And 180 divided by 15 is 12. Now that you have that, you just times your 12 by the desired ratio you need to find. Now the question said find the largest angle, and again a bit of common sense here. We know that the largest angle will obviously be the one with the ratio 7, because that is the highest number in the ratio, so obviously it's going to be 7. So simply you do 12 times 7, and that would give you 84 degrees, and that would be the answer for that. If you want to confirm your answer, you can do the same method for the rest. So let's do 12 times 5. 12 times 5 would give you 60 degrees. And then let's do 12 times 3. 12 times 3. That would give you 36 degrees. And if you have to add up all of this, this should give you 180. So 60 plus 36, 96 plus 84 gives me 180 indeed. So this shows that our answer of 84 degrees is correct. So that's how you go about doing this question. You find the total value that everything is equal to, divide it by the sum of the ratios, whatever you have, then you times it by the particular ratio amount. So let's go on to the next example. Right, this one says the ratio of adults to children on a train is 7 to 2. Okay, good to know. There are 245 adults on the train, 245 adults on the train. Find the total number of people on the train. Now there are two ways to go about this. The first way, which is probably the more easier way, is to see how exactly the ratio works. We know that the ratio is 7 to 2. This is adults to children, and then the number of adults, that's 245 to the amount of children. Of course it asked us for the total number of people. We need to find the total amount of children first as well. So we have something like this. Now we need to see what did we do to 7 to get 245. So the answer is nothing, but to get 245 from 7, we simply times it by 35. If you're unsure how I got that, what I did, I just simply did 245 divide by 7 and I got 35. So that means to get 245 from 7, we times it by 35. So we would do the same with 2, you would say. So times 2 by 35, and timesing 2 by 35, I would have 70. That means when there are 245 adults, I have 70 children, and it's said to me to find the total number of people. So that simply means adults plus children. So 245 plus 70, and doing that should be 315. Let me just confirm. Yep, it is 315. So total number of people is 315. P-E-O-P-L-E. Now, the other way to do this question is in a similar sort of way. So again, we would write the ratio. We have 7 to 2. We have 245 as the adults on the left hand, and then X, because we don't know what's the amount of children. Now, if you watched my video on percentages, I used a similar sort of trick to find an increase in percentage, and we'll be using the same thing. If I have two ratios like this, I can consider them to simply be something like this: 7 over 245 equals to 2 over x. And what we can do now is simply cross multiply and solve for x. So cross multiplying, I know I have 7x equals to 2 times 245, and 2 times 245 I think is 490. Let me just check. 2 times 245, yep, 490. And then I can solve for x, which is the amount of children in this case. That's 490 divided by 7, and that would give me 70 as well, as I got earlier over here. And then again, add 245 to 70, so 70 plus 245, and that would also give me 315. So as you can see, both the methods are correct. It's up to you which one you feel much more comfortable with, and you can apply that one. But always remember to always put your units. You can lose marks not writing down your units. So on to the final example for this video, and this is a challenge question. Challenge question. So please do pause the video and have a go at this by yourself, and then resume the video to see if you're correct or incorrect. If you are incorrect, please take note of your mistake. So let's go. It says, write the ratio 2 centimeters to 5 kilometers in the form 1 to n. So that means they gave us the first part of how we need to simplify it to 1, and then the second part n. So we're technically finding for n. Now you would say, oh, to get 1 from 2, all they did is divide it by 2. So divide this by 2, divide this by 2, then I would have 1 to 2.5, done and dusted, game over. But no, that's not how it works, because you have to look at your units. Your units are different. There's centimeter over here and kilometers over here. So you cannot do this. You have to get them to the same units. And in this case, we can bring the kilometers to centimeter form. Now, there is a mnemonic I memorized while I was at school, and I mean no harm to any sort of, I don't mean to insult anyone, it's just a mnemonic I learned. It's King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk, where this is kilo, this is your base, that's either meters or liters or whatever, base. This is centi, and this is milli, and we don't need any business with these three of yet. And I know that when I'm going from left to right, I times. I know when I'm going from right to left, I divide. And if I'm going one place, either left or right, I divide or times it by 10. If I'm going 2 places left to right, I'm dividing or timesing by 100. If I'm going 3 places left to right, I'm timesing or dividing by 1,000. So I want to bring 5 kilometers to centimeters. So from kilometers from here to centimeters here. So if I go 1, 2, 3, that brings me to base. So that converts kilometers to meters. And if I'm going 3 times to the right, I'm timesing it by 1,000. So let's do that first. So we have 2 cm to 5 km. Converting my 5 km to meters, I would now have 2 cm to 5,000 m. That's meters. But I want it in centimeters. So now from base, I would go to centimeters. So I'd go 1, 2. And if I'm going 2 to the right, I'm timesing it by 100. So now I need to times this by 100. So now it becomes 2 centimeters to 5,000 times 100, which is 500,000. 500,000 centimeters. And now that they're in the same units, we can work with it. And it said in the ratio of 1 to n. To get 1 from 2, you divided it by 2. So dividing both of them by 2, I would have 1 cm over here, and 500,000 divided by 2 is 250,000 cm here. sorry, to 50,000 cm. Now since cm is on both sides, we can simply cancel it out, and we can simply just write this as 1 to 250,000. So again, very important that you work in the units, in the same units on either side of your ratio, and that is the answer for that question. So thank you for watching this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please do not forget to perform an LSS, that is like, share and subscribe. And also in the comments section below, you can ask any question, give any feedback or any correction. Thank you for watching. Have a nice one, guys.